believe that I'm overstating it when I say this is the miracle of salvation. The miracle is not that we get to go to heaven when it's all over. The miracle is that the Spirit of God lives in you and me right here and right now. God had been with people, right? All through history, God had been with people. There were times where he was heavily with people, times where he had rested upon people. But for the Spirit of God to be in people, for their hearts and their minds, even their bodies, to be so transformed that God himself lived in them, that is a miracle. It might be the miracle. A miracle that is beyond their understanding. And even though it is our reality, we sometimes live like we don't realize who and what we've been given. And so we wrestle and we plead and we beg and we get angry and disappointed at what he hasn't done or what needs to be done or what we would like to feel or would like to see. And I feel like there's got to be a point where the Holy Spirit's inside all of us going, I'm here. Whatever you're begging for is not as good as what you've been given. Whatever you're lacking is not as good as what you abound in. Whatever you think is necessary for joy doesn't even compare to the joy that I'd like to stir up and give to you. Whatever you think you have to get to give peace, it doesn't compare to the peace I'm trying to lead you into. But we have to yield. We have to be willing to not just accept, but believe and rejoice in the fact that the Spirit of God lives in us. It's a miracle that's beyond our understanding, but it's our reality. When we finally get to John 16, Jesus says in the first verse, he said, I have said all these things to you to keep you from falling away. Do we realize how incredible a statement that is? I have said all these things to you to keep you from falling away. Jesus knew the disciples' faith was going to be tested. Jesus knew because he's already announced that Peter was going to deny him. He knew because he'd already announced that the others were all going to abandon him. But he knew that even though he was dying for them, his death was going to shake them. So everything he said that night was to give them something to stand firm upon, was to give them something to hold on to. In the middle of his suffering, he was making sure we had security. That's unbelievable. And again, it's just the heart of God. It's the character and the nature of God. His humility and his selflessness. His devotion to us is so enormous that I think we overlook it rather than diving into it. But think of this. That night is when everything about their belief system would be tested. And Jesus said, everything I've just said to you, it's so that you don't fall away. Can I encourage you in this? Anytime your faith is shaken, anytime your flesh is rising, anytime you're tempted to give up, to run off, or to just go and hide somewhere, read John 13 through 15. Because Jesus has already told us what the purpose of those words were, that they would keep us from falling away.